Hot takes are everywhere, but they're often uninformed, and major news is biased. We've had enough of hot takes. We want informed takes. Join Kevin Briggins and Devin Smith as they have rational conversations about domestic politics, geopolitics, and military affairs. Things will get interesting as they bring in expert guests, even from across the aisle. Grab your favorite drink, get comfortable, and hop into the chat. It's time for Informed Takes.
Yo, welcome back to another week of Informed Takes. I hope everyone is doing great. I am Kevin Briggins. He is Devin Smith. And man, we are glad that y'all are with us again. What's good, man? How you been?
Hey, man, we doing well, man. We doing well. Been a busy week. Man, we're in the middle of raising capital. So I'm having all kinds of conversations with investors about things that are way over my head, but things are going well, man. Everything's moving forward. We potentially will be in new studio space in the next couple of months. So very cool stuff, man.
That's awesome. I'm excited about that. Because that means we get to do some more like in-studio type stuff. So, man, I can't wait for that. I see you're unburdened tonight.
That's
like
right,
it.
baby. That's right, baby. we unburdened, man. We unburdened. I came home from church. I got out my suit, and I was like, I know exactly which hoodie I'm putting on.
Yeah. Yeah. For those who don't know, who haven't been following the show, that unburdened merch as part of our merchandise, we did it after the election, and is a reference to Kamala Harris is being unburdened as being.
That's right. That's right, man. As what was it? Monique. She said, for y'all who don't know, Monique Duson is Kevin's other co-host on Off Code. Y'all need to go check out Off Code. But she said, unburdened from what might have been. I thought that was fantastic. That was amazing.
Yeah. So merch link in the chat. So for you guys who would like to go and check it out, we got some Informed Takes merch, which is new. And go check out the merch store. But outside of that, man, it was an interesting week in politics.
Yes, it was.
And as I promised last week, we were going to say something negative about the Trump administration, and they just handed it to us on a silver platter. It's like, here you go. Like I say, for those who weren't following last week, we were kind of hitting the Democrats really hard, and we try to call balls and strikes and not be one side and just kind of look at the landscape as a whole. And so last week, man, we were with the Tesla stuff and all the violence that was going on, we were hitting the left pretty hard. And so I promised that we were going to do something about the Trump administration that was on the more the negative side. And then they handed it to me. They handed it to me with Signalgate. And so, yeah, man, I'm looking forward to diving into that because, oh my goodness, as a former intelligence professional, oh my goodness, what are y'all doing? So
I've been looking forward to your opinion on this whole situation. I was wondering where you were going to fall. So there's a part of this for me. I'm just going to kind of sit back and listen to Kev. What you want to do first? You want to go to the video first, or you want to give some context? What you want to do first?
Yeah. Let's start with the article first, and then we'll get Heck South's response to it.
Yes. That article, my goodness, man. I was reading through that article, and I didn't realize it was that extensive. I did not realize that it was, from what everybody was talking about, it was like, it's like a thing here, like a thing there. It wasn't like, them talking about a ton of stuff. And I'm reading this article, and I'm like, dude, they were talking about everything in here. How did they not notice that this dude was in this chat? So I mean, I could pull up some of some of the transcript here it's surrounded by advertisements because that's what reading news is like on the internet now. But here, let's take a look.
All right, so I'm gonna set it up a little bit for those who haven't tracking this week. There was a scandal that came out of the Trump administration using an app called Signal. Signal is just like a texting app, like Group Me or something like that. But it is definitely on the more secure end, and so it's highly thought of. I was in the military. In the military, like with my military friends, that's what we use to communicate with Signal. We really don't use anything else. And so it within government work, within the military, Signal is very common because it is secure to a certain level. More secure than like a GroupMe app. Has a higher level of encryption on it. And so it is very common to use within government. And so the Trump administration, Mike Waltz started a group, not a GroupMe. He started a Signal chat with key people within the administration. And he told them, hey, add what aides you want me to add. Well, the issue was he accidentally added a journalist from The Atlantic by mistake. And the journalist is in the chat seeing everything the administration is talking about. And he published an article in The Atlantic, and good for him and his career. But we want to kind of talk about it from, was this classified? Let's talk about it from a national security perspective, and let's get through kind of the noise that we've been seeing in the media, because there's a lot of politics being played. You know, the Democrats kind of jumped on this because this was something they could pounce on and spin in a negative light, and finally kind of get some, I don't want to say good press for them, but get some negative press on the Trump administration. We're going to walk through it and see exactly what they were talking about. Because when I read through it, I'll be honest, I enjoyed reading through it because I felt like I was inside a White House staff meeting, right? I'm getting inside how you really feel. They're disagreeing with one another. You know, they're talking about, hey, you know, J.D. Vance was talking about the strike on the Houthis. He's like, I've expressed my opposition, but if that's what the group wants to do, you know, I'll go with the company line, just, you know, whatever y'all decide. You know, just seeing how the sausage is made, right? And so I want to just kind of walk through it and see what they were talking about and kind of what's this classified and what does it really mean in the big picture. All right. So
real quick up here, one thing that I wasn't completely understanding, where they're dropping these names. Like, do you understand what's going on here? Like, are they talking about like 2028?
So Mike Walls said, yeah. So Mike Walls asked them, because he started the chat. He said, hey, let me know what aides you want me to add to this. And so they all start dropping a name of a particular aide that they wanted him to add to the chat, right? And so, because the chat was supposed to be like for like kind of coordinating some stuff. And so you want your top level aide to be in here. This is going to be like a one-stop shop for him to kind of like reach out to everybody. I think it just turned into something he didn't intend it to. Because once people start talking, you know, you can't control where it goes. And I think it went in a direction when he started this chat, he didn't intend for it to be used for like coordinating strikes.
Yeah, he probably did not. He probably did not intend that. To give it a comparison, like, you know, my guys group chat in the neighborhood. Okay, we got a bunch of guys in the neighborhood. We got a group chat. Okay, now what happened here clearly is every man in that chat's worst nightmare. The group chat leaking. Like, you know, I know you've probably seen the memes and the videos and stuff where they're just basically like, oh, the group chat leaked, we all going to jail. You know, we all losing our jobs. And this I mean, the group chat leaked. And you're right. We have one guy in the group who kind of acts as he calls himself the thread police. We have different threads in Signal for different topics. So you can't be talking about politics in the main thread. And if you talk about politics, you're gonna get the police car chase emoji. You're gonna get the GIF. You're gonna get the police the police GIF. And I mean, but once something pops off, like what you gonna do? I mean, you gonna kick them out? What you gonna do? You know?
Yeah.
So that's tough, man. I can't imagine that. He's probably thinking to himself, like, why did they pop off in this, talking about a military strike?
Yeah. And so that's kind of the backdrop for it. So he's just dropping names. They're dropping names. Hey, add this person. Let's scroll down let's see what else they start talking about. Okay, so on the 14th, let's see.
They're talking about the Suez Canal here, and this I thought this is kind of a big deal, because what you're seeing here is kind of the back and forth between them, and
this is the part I enjoyed.
Yeah.
This was seeing the sausage made. So I'm just gonna summarize for everybody, so we don't have to read through it.
Sure.
So they're talking about striking the Houthis to open up the trade routes to the Red Sea, because if you're familiar with what's going on in Yemen, the Houthis, they're attacking U.S. naval and commercial vessels through the Red Sea. And so it has really affected maritime trade routes, because as we showed last week, I think it might have been 2 weeks ago, if you can't go through the Red Sea and up through the now to get to Europe, you have to go all the way around the continent of Africa, right? And so it is a big deal if you can't go to the Red Sea. And so this is what they're discussing. And so JD Vance's issue is, he says, hey, look, guys, only 3% of U.S. trade goes through the now, but 40%. Why are we doing this? They should be doing this. And he has a valid point. And Mike Walls comes back and basically makes the argument like, hey, I agree with you, but the European navies can't handle the abilities and the tactics that the Houthis are using in terms of their, anti-ship missiles, their drones, all of this stuff. He said at the end of the day, it's going to be us. We have to do it, and they talked about basically calculating how much it's going to cost us, and then in some kind of way transferring that cost to our European friends. But we've got to do it. And so that's what the discussion was. It was back and forth. Hegseth comes in. Because another point Vance made in his opposition was, this might be important, but how are we going to sell this to the American people? They don't even know who the Houthis are. They can't, they don't know what Yemen is. Like, they're not going to understand why we're doing this. And so it was all about the messaging, like how is this going to affect? He said, and then what does this affect prices, oil prices and stuff like that. And so he's expressing his kind of pushback to this idea that we need to strike. Pete Hegseth, who's the Secretary of Defense, comes in and he starts talking about, well, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's now or a month from now in terms of timing of this. At the end of the day, we have to do it. So no matter when we do it, the messaging problem is going to be there. So that's kind of just something we got to deal with. And it wasn't like, if we don't do it now, but we do it a month from now, it's going to be different. And so that was his argument. And so JD Vance was given his kind of opposition. They were given pushback as to why we kind of needed to do it. And JD Vance said, hey, I've expressed my opposition. I'll go whatever the group decides. And so as someone who has been on boards, as someone who has been in situations where when you come out the room, you have to be on one page, it was interesting to see that that's how this team is working. Another thing somebody brought up was, and I didn't think about it at first, was this really shows that what the administration is saying in public is really what they believe and they're saying behind the scenes. JD Vance's frustrations with Europe is real. It's not just some political thing that he's throwing out there. Behind the scenes, he's expressing the same opinions, right? this attack on the Houthis was a legitimate thing, right? They was like, we need to open the Red Sea back up, right? And so this isn't the military industrial complex scheming up something, right? They're having legitimate conversations about legitimate issues, and they're putting their real feelings out there. And their feelings are basically what you're seeing in the public in terms of their positions on things. And so one thing that came out as a positive to me is that the Trump administration is actually very honest in what they're putting out to the media and to the public. Despite this, being a negative effect in terms of the leak, it really wasn't a lot of negative things within the chat itself that someone could attack a point at. I mean, it was legit, and that's why I appreciated about it. So, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, man. I thought that that's all really good because it was kind of interesting to me to see Vance's positions on things. Again, like Vance is just demonstrating time and again that he's a smart guy, that he is on top of stuff, that he considers second and third order consequences to certain things, and just consistently demonstrates that he was a solid pick. Sometimes I do think he can tend to be a little isolationist, which is probably why Trump picked him.
He is.
And I'm not an isolationist. I'm not a war hawk either. I don't think that we should be getting involved in everything. I just think that we can't pretend that by withdrawing from certain areas, key areas in the world where we have real interests, that things are just going to work out. We're just going to make everything here from an economic standpoint. It's just not how the world moves forward. Isolationism does not move the world forward. It doesn't move any country forward.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say Vance is a isolationist. I would say he's like, does this benefit us? Why are we doing it? Kind of deal. It's like the whole America first mindset.
Yeah.
Which can lead to isolationism, but I don't think he's necessarily an isolationist. He's just saying, why are we doing this when Europe should be doing it? He's trying to hold people accountable who should be held accountable for things, and it can't all fall on us all the time. Because at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, it falls on the American taxpayer is who 100%. It falls on.
100%.
Right. Hey guys, we appreciate you guys being with us. If you're watching right now, kind of like the stream for us and kind of help us out with that. If you aren't subscribed, man, we would love for you to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know every time that we go live. But yeah, this was, like I said, I enjoyed seeing how the sausage was made on this. Let's just keep scrolling and see what else did they get into.
I had a couple more points real quick.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So one thing about this that I think is a big deal, where Vance is basically saying, I'm not sure that the president is aware how inconsistent this is with his message on Europe right now. I was like, oh snap. Oh crap! Because that Trump does not like to be. He doesn't even like it to be referenced that he may have a wrong take on something from his own camp. Like he will turn on you. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh man! Now he can't just turn on Vance like that. He won't be able to do that. And I think that Vance will. He'll navigate it, right? Just like Nikki Haley navigated having a public disagreement with the president. She's the only person I ever saw him back down from when he tried to say, he tried to have his people say, "Oh, she was mistaken." She's like, "I'm never mistaken." Like I said what I said.
I do believe there are some areas like foreign policy, because she was Secretary of State, I believe, the first time around. There are certain areas of foreign policy where I do believe Trump, especially his first administration, was willing to lean to the professionals, I guess you can call it, right? Because he got into this not being a politician and didn't have a lot of experience, and so I think in some of those cases, I think he did kind of defer, like especially to her in that situation, because it was an area that's not his lane.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
at first they tried to say that she misspoke and she had to correct the record. She's like, no, I'm not backing down off of this. Like, basically she was like, you can come for me. You're not going to do to me like you did to all your other surrogates and cabinet members. No, I said what I said.
Yeah. But no, this is a good point. Like, this could have come off as kind of a negative critique to Trump. But like I said, I think Vance was just kind of pointing out the inconsistency in the messaging. But at the same time, I don't think the public would have saw things the way that Vance is seeing it, in terms of, like, nobody knew that only 3% of ours and 40% of Europe's go through the Suez Canal. The United States has one of the main functions of the U.S. Navy is to keep commercial lanes open. We control the seas. We police the seas to ensure that global trade continues to happen. So this is right up our mission set of what we have been doing, since the Cold War, like since forever. And so I don't think so. Us hitting the Houthis to open up commercial lane traffic throughout the Suez Canal, throughout the Red Sea, I don't think it would have been the kind of European mismessaging that Vance is seeing, because I didn't know those stats until I read this.
Right. Right. And that I agree with that. I think that his like thing is just like, Americans are not going to understand this. He's right. There's going to be he's right in the sense that there's going to be a large amount of Americans who do not understand what's going on there. Even though, the conflict with the Houthis gets talked about, the fact that they actually struck our stuff, I think all the American people need to hear is they attacked some of our stuff, some of our people, and we punched them in the mouth. That is all that it takes for Americans to be like, no, they mess with, especially they mess with our boats. You know how we are about our boats. You don't mess with our boats. We punched them in the mouth. Everybody's going to be good with it.
And to your point, and to his point, when they did do the strike, we did a whole show basically trying to, me explaining who the Houthis are, why this is important. We had to do it. I had maps, and I was like, I get to teach tonight.
Yeah, it was great. It was great, man. Y'all need to go back and watch that if you want more context on who the Houthis are, why we have any sort of beef with them, what they've done to us, and what they're doing in the region.
Yeah, and so to his point, the average person had no idea,
right?
Like what they weren't going to understand. But it happened. So now that we have this, we can look at hindsight. We did the strike. I don't think the messaging was too off. I don't think there was a lot of negative blowback from the strikes themselves once people understood that, the Houthis are striking our naval vessels and our commercial ships. And once they put the numbers out there, and it's like 175 attacks in the last year, and people like, oh, okay. That's all people need to hear. Yeah.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. The only other point I'll make is that it's a shame to me that the Europeans can't even get this done. That they don't have the capability to get this done. That is I am done. I am done with hearing critique from Europeans anymore. It's like, y'all live the lives that you live bankrolled by us. I don't want to hear another dang thing.
They do. And this thing people don't understand about Americans in general, we are so unique in our mindset, and it plays out in our military. Now, our European allies, we love them. We work with them a lot. They are good at what they do, special, like British Special Forces, stuff like that, right? But just in general, there's a mindset difference. And there was this French Army ranger or something like that. I forgot what his actual role was, but he wrote this article about his time in Afghanistan working with the Americans. And he talked about how it was so different. He said like something would go off, a explosion, something. And he said the Americans would immediately just run towards it, right? Run towards the fight. And he said he had never seen that before. And he was so impressed with just the mindset in that and doing things with excellence and how professional it was and just how, badass it was. I'm just, and he wrote this whole article. Yeah, but it's like the mindset is different. I just saw an article this week of a tourist took down some guy in a knife with a knife in some European city, and he's got the guy bound on the ground waiting for the police to show up. I'm like, that's America. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, man. You see the old man. I think he was a former Marine in the convenience store. Dude comes in there with the gun. The dude sees an opportunity, grabs the robber's arm, gets the gun out his hand, and handles business. And I'm just like, that was an old dude. Like that, he was probably twice that guy's age. Like, had the beer gut and everything, still handled him. That's America right there.
Yeah, this is about 5 or 6 years ago. This airman was on a train in Europe, and I forgot what happened on the train, but it was some type of like terrorist thing. Anyway, he ends up, this guy's like 18, 19 years old. And he takes down this guy on the train and stops this attack, right? And got all kind of medals and stuff. But I'm like, that's what we do. Yeah. There's just something wired in us different because the Europeans in general are more passive. They will sit there and take orders and just kind of do what the bad guy wants them to do and comply, and they're nice and they're soft, right? They don't think, nah, I ain't going down like that, right? It's just a different mentality. And so when we think about the Europeans from a military standpoint, yes, they have depended on us because number one, we get to fund and I want to say something too, because this gets taken out of context where everybody's like, we've been carrying their water and stuff like that. Yeah, but at the same time, we were doing it for our benefit too, right? The fact that we were responsible for the defense of Europe and many other parts of the world, and the fact we handed out money gave us influence. So it wasn't like we were just doing this out the goodness of our heart. We enjoyed being the only superpower in the world, right? We enjoy having our military bases spread out all over Europe, right? We enjoy the ability to exert force anywhere from around the world from the many bases we have in other countries. And so it's not just the fact that, they're leeching off of us. No, we benefit from it too. And so, but the Europeans have taken advantage of that. The fact that they don't have to spend as much money on defense because we are there to provide the defense. And because they don't have to provide that level of money towards their own defense, they have spent their money on vast social programs.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You can have universal health care. You can have all of these programs and look like these perfect little nations when someone else is fighting your battles for you. When someone else is spending the hundreds of billions of dollars in military funding and placing our soldiers, placing our, aircraft carriers off the coast and docking at your station or putting our air bases in your country, you're good because we're there. And so you can take your money and you can do all these nice, social programs. And so the fact that we're calling them out now saying, no, y'all need to carry your own weight. Well, that means they got to pull money from somewhere. And the politicians, they don't want to do that. And so it's one of those things like that. But like I say, in general, Europe, the mindset is different. They're softer, they're weaker. When it comes to the free speech stuff we're seeing now, they're not like us. We have some similarities. We are like-minded in many ways, but in many ways, America is just a unique place, culture, and mindset. And so, so that's what I'll say about that in terms of Europe and their inability to do some things we think they should be able to do.
Right.
Yep.
Oh man. Screenshots, boy.
Yeah.
Screenshots.
Yeah. So, like I said, the only reason I'm fine with this is because nothing he put out harmed national security. Yeah. I hate it. I hated the WikiLeaks stuff. When you, for your own ego, put out things intentionally harm our national security, I got no love for you. I don't care what you trying to expose. I don't have any love for you. But I have no problem with the guy putting this stuff out because there was nothing in here that was jeopardizing national security.
Yeah.
So
I had a little problem. I had a little problem with it because I feel like just because you can, does that mean that you should? They tried to say, they tried to say that we were liars, so we're gonna put the receipts out there. And they weren't calling you a liar in the sense that the chat never happened. They're calling you a liar in the sense that nothing classified was being stated.
The way it was framed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, in my opinion, it was a bit. It was unnecessary. It was unnecessary to publish this. It felt spiteful. I already don't have much love for the Atlantic, especially because of how they were during COVID. I felt like Jeff Goldberg. This was, I saw a lot of people say like Jeff Goldberg's like the worst of the worst. I'd never really heard of him before, so I don't really know. I don't know much about him. But this didn't put a good taste in my mouth because I didn't feel like this was necessary.
I mean, the Atlantic is what the Atlantic is. It's like Politico and all these. They're definitely going to be on the left. They're definitely going to be, Democrats, right? And so there's a motive in that you get to make the Trump administration look bad, but at the same time, from a business standpoint, from a career journalist standpoint, this is a gold mine.
Oh, I mean, of course, yeah, they know.
He hit the lottery with this. Like, what are the chances? But this is what I will say: I wouldn't have wrote the article. I wouldn't have done. I would have took screenshots and I would have sat there quiet as I could, hoping that for months and maybe for the administration, they don't know I'm in here.
Yeah,
and that's what I would have done, and just gathered as much intel as I could. Then at the end, wrote a big story, memoir, whatever.
Yeah.
But I would not have outed it after one story. Right. No, to me, he dropped the ball because he didn't get the full what he could have gotten out of this.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just the way that my brain is wired. I would be very concerned if I was in a chat where they're putting out classified information in this chat. They're talking about classified information. And all of a sudden, now I am privy to classified information that I shouldn't know. My phone number is listed there. I am identifiable. It's not like I'm an anonymous person. They know who I am. At that point,
they added me. I didn't break my way in. They added me. And so I'm just saying, like, think about what they could decide to do. I was like, oh, well, we're going to have to pay attention. We're going to keep an eye on you because, you got in this group chat. You saw some stuff. We're going to have to keep an eye on. I mean, imagine how they could decide to make things difficult for him for a long time. Are you saying that he could possibly be in danger because he knows where the bodies are buried? Is that what you're trying to say?
Not necessarily that he knows where the bodies are buried. It's just like if you see stuff you shouldn't see, you don't have clearance to see, you're a journalist, and then like you decide that you're gonna do this. It's like, they probably have some completely legal ways to make your life difficult for several years to where you don't know if your phone being tapped, you don't know, your internet traffic being watched. Like, I mean, they could decide, be like, hey, if you want to mess around, we got ways we can mess around, and we got a lot more money than you, and a lot more gadgets and technology than you do. I mean, you want to play this game.
That is fact.
I wouldn't want to mess with them. I mean, you messing with DNI? Yeah. You messing with DNI over here. Like, what switches could she flip to make your life difficult for a few years? Like.
That is true. But as Matt said in the chat, yes, I am such a capitalist. Absolutely. Cha-ching. Oh, man. So, let's get down to the juicy part. Let's get down to Hexeth and what he put in here. All right. And I just want to kind of talk about it.
Which, what was he?
The strike stuff.
Okay. All right. I don't know how far down this is.
Yeah, you just keep scrolling. It's gonna look a little different. Hold up. Go back up. I think right above this. Yep, that's it. Scroll up a little bit more. Right there.
Right.
Above the advertising. Above that advertising starts. Yep.
Oh,
right there.
yes. There it is. I see it. Yep.
See 12:15 F-18's launch, first strike package. 13:45 trigger-based F-18's first strike window starts. Right. So this is the stuff where it gets interesting. Right. And so basically what Pete Hegseth started doing was using this chat to kind of keep everybody updated on what was going on, because this is kind of where they had the initial conversation about whether they should do it or not. So now that there's a go, he's updating them on what's taking place or what's going to take place. I get that. This ain't the place for that.
No.
This is not.
Oh. Okay, so explain that to us. Help us understand, us civilians. Help us understand where they should have been talking about that.
It should have been on SIPRNet, which is secret, or on what we call High Side, which is your top secret network. It should have been a classified network, because this is information that is taken from an O plan, an operational plan. Operational plan is typically going to be secret. That's usually what it is. And so this is particular information pulled out. Now we're going to get to his response, and I'm going to save some of my stuff to after his response, but this is information that would have been taken out of an O plan, an operational plan, of the details of what exactly we're going to do, right? But it's just particular information out of it. And so I guess we can switch to his explanation, and then that'll help us kind of have the further discussion of, is this classified or not?
Sounds good. Let's look at it.
Good morning, everybody. What a beautiful day. It's always a beautiful day when we're on the road talking to the troops and actually in real time reestablishing deterrence. You see, that's what President Trump has charged the Defense Department with doing. Reviving the warrior ethos, rebuilding the military, which we're doing in real time, and reestablishing deterrence. And that's why we're heading out into the Indo-Pacific to talk to our allies and partners and meet with the troops. And anybody that knows me for years and knows President Trump knows how much we love the warriors. That's what it's about. The men and women who serve, who do the tough, difficult, gritty, dirty work that most Americans will never know about, but we have the privilege of seeing and understanding the courage and skill of what they do. I'm going to go see that for the next couple of days. We also have seen it on full display in what's been done to the Houthi terrorists and what they're trying to do to close freedom of navigation. So you see, under the Biden administration, we let our troops and our ships and both warships and commercial ships get shot at to no consequence. What does that look like? That looks like weakness. And what President Trump has said is peace through strength is back. We will reestablish deterrence. That's not acceptable. And our ongoing campaign against the Houthis has been devastatingly effective. Now, as I said to this group a couple of times on this trip now, as we move to the Indo-Pacific to do our job, which is what we're here to do, nobody's texting war plans. Well, I noticed this morning out came something that doesn't look like war plans. And as a matter of fact, they even changed the title to attack plans because they know it's not war plans. There's no units, no locations, no routes, no flight paths, no sources, no methods, no classified information. You know who sees war plans? I see them every single day. I looked at them this morning. I looked at attack plans this morning. You know who does attack plans and war plans? Men like that admiral right there, Paparo, for the Indo-Pacific, or Eric Kurilla, our general in CENTCOM. They do attack plans and war plans. And thank God we have those leaders who do it and do it well, and our enemies know it. My job, as it said atop of that, everybody's seen it now, team update, is to provide updates in real time. General updates in real time, keep everybody informed. That's what I did. That's my job. The war fighters will take the fight to the enemy, and I love what they do. And with President Trump's leadership, our enemies are on notice. We will have peace through strength, and we'll keep putting our troops first. Thank you very much. We're heading off
strike plans
to the
before they.
Yeah. So that's his response. First of all, I want to say I think he's in Hawaii. Man, I miss Hawaii. That's like the best place you can have a military base, just paradise. And so I miss that. I also say that I like Pete Hegseth. I like what he's trying to do. I like what he stands for, what he's trying to get the military back focused on. I agree with everything. And this is the thing with what he said about attack plans and war plans. He's not 100% wrong. In terms of those things he listed, those are things that would be in a full operational plan. The routes, the methods, the unit, like all of that's key details. And those details do determine whether something's classified or not, or determines the level of classification of it, depending on how much information is in there. So let's say that all of that stuff is in a operational plan. Because all of that information is in there, they might make that document secret, no foreign, which means no foreign nationals, only U.S. only, because of the level of information that's in it. We might take out the particular units that's going to do it, right? And then by taking out the units, okay, now it's secret rail to what we call Five Eyes, our 5 partners. U.S., Canada, Great Britain, Australia, New Zealand, right? So the level of information determines the level of classification. I can tell you right now, based on from my experience, when you put the time that the strike is going to happen before it happens, and you put what type of aircraft you're going to be using for that strike, even though it is not the full package, that information alone isn't going to be unclassified. That's going to be classified information. And so he's right from a standpoint of the extent of the classification of that information. This isn't a major leak. This isn't some highly sensitive, top secret thing that got put out. But I guarantee you, the times we're striking and the aircraft we're using is going to be secret information, And so that's my issue of it. Yes, it is classified, and no, it's not to the extent that the media and some people are trying to make it. But at the same time, that is not unclassified information, right? And so that's kind of what my position is based on my experience, is that information that he put in there was classified. It was secret information, especially putting it in there before the strike happens. That's not unclassified. That would never be public information. That's not, we have different system levels of classification. That type of information would never be on my unclassified system. It just wouldn't be. You'd never find it on there. It's going to at minimum be on the secret side of the house. And so that would be my rebuttal to my negative kind of pushback to the Trump administration. Pete Hegseth did put secret information in the signal chat. And they just need to own it and move on and say, okay, yeah, that was a mistake. Won't happen again. But at the same time, it's not the serious situation that people are trying to make it out to be, to take advantage of it and spin it in a negative light either.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That was the, even though I am a layman, when it comes to this stuff, that was the overall takeaway that I had. That's the overall takeaway that I had was just, like there's probably some classified information in there, but you didn't really get a whole lot. You didn't get a whole lot. It wasn't something that, I don't think that it would have mattered if I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying that if Jeff Goldberg was a foreign asset, that information probably would not have helped them during the battle because he's giving real-time updates. So the stuff's already happening. It's not going to help you a ton. And so I think that it was not as big of a deal. It's kind of these people are incompetent. Oh, let's use this as Democrats to try to score some points. That's really what it comes out to. Was it bad? Would we have been pissed if the Biden administration had done this? Absolutely. We would have been pissed. Like, come on. Like, we would have been mad.
I'll say this in terms of being in the military, being, in intel, there's always a line you're trying to skirt in terms of talking about something without it being classified. So I guarantee you, because it's very broad and bland what he put in there. I guarantee you he was intentionally trying to put in bare bones information so it wouldn't be classified.
Yeah.
That was he was attempting to do.
Yeah.
I just think the times of the strikes and the aircraft he was using, because this one, okay, you're using FA-18s. If I'm the bad guy or if I'm a foreign country, I already know, that means if you're using FA-18s, that means you're coming off the carrier strike group. If you had said F-15s or B-52s, I would have known because I know where you're stationed at. I would have known, okay, you're flying out of here, right? So it's some what we call operational security, some OPSEC stuff that you wouldn't want to get out there. It would never be just unclassified information. Leroy's right. Leroy, he would know. And so that's kind of what it is. It's like I said, it wasn't a full war plan. It wasn't a full O plan. He was trying to give them a bare bones minimum situation awareness. And I appreciate that, but you just can't put that. It need to be more general than that. He need to take it another level, and say, hey, when we start, and then kind of give them a rundown. But don't say, boom, this the time, this the aircraft. Don't do that.
Yeah. That's the hard part about this is just I wish that they would own it. I wish that they would not follow the typical political game of trying not to own it. Matt here is saying the Trump admin can't afford these types of mistakes and distractions, takes them off message, puts them on the defensive.
Yep.
I think they have a little grace right now. Honestly, in their first term, they did not have, there was no room for error for them in their first term, and they had a lot of error. For crying out loud, the man had Steve Bannon in the building.
But this is what I will say, and this is where I know it's politics, and I understand it's politics. My issue is the average person doesn't understand politics. That's what bothers me, and that's why these types of things are successful in terms of propaganda.
Right.
But people are calling for Pete Hegseth to resign over this. These same people, none of them called for Lloyd Austin to resign after their botched Afghanistan pullout, right? So, which one is worse? You didn't call for him to resign after that, but you want Pete Hegseth to resign after. Come on, y'all.
Like nobody died. Nobody was compromised. Nobody's left for the enemy who actually risked their lives for us was left to just be chop suey for the enemy. Man. I think that I do think that it was a mess up. They should own that. They should be like, we messed up there. Every now and again you're going to have that. We're going to correct. We're going to move on. That's the grown-up way to handle this. That is the grown-up way to handle this, that every single person who's ever done a job in their life knows something like this happens. They would hope that they weren't getting their head chopped off for something like that, right? You have in Afghanistan, your head getting chopped off. You're just trying to make sure that the axe don't hit anything else. Just make it quick. Just make it quick for me. But something like this, it's like, all right, man. Like, was it a screw up? Yeah. Will I admit in public it's a screw up? Yeah. Then Trump don't even have to say anything. All Trump has to say is, Pete gave his word on it. He gave his word on it. Waltz gave his word on it. He owned it. We're moving forward. I'm not. Don't ask me to throw my team under the bus in public. They own their mistake. We're moving forward. End of story. End of discussion.
End of story.
You do that, it's over with.
Yep. So JN has said he's having a hard time understanding how they didn't realize the wrong person was added to the group. All right. So this is how I believe it happened. So Mike Waltz is who added the journalist. So that means the journalist had to be in his contacts, right? And when you do a program like GroupMe or Signal, it's pulling over your contacts. Well, it's pulling over your contacts, but what someone's labeled in your contacts isn't what they're going to be labeled as in the Signal. This guy's profile was just his initials, JG. And so when Waltz was adding JG, I think he thought he was adding a different person, and then realized that this journalist was who JG was from his contacts, because the naming convention is different. And so that's how I believe it happened. It can easily happen that way when you're going from one application to another and it's pulling in your contacts, and now everybody's different from what you're used to seeing. It's just a bad mistake. Yeah. I could see how it happened, but at the same time, it's just a really, really bad mistake. I mean, he could have added his grandma in the chat and it was like, oh, man, I accidentally added my grandma. When you add the lead, publisher for The Atlantic, it couldn't have been worse. It could not have been worse. I mean, if he had added, someone from the New York Post or Fox News or the Daily Wire, this wouldn't have happened. Added somebody from The Atlantic.
Yeah. If they added somebody from the Daily Wire, we wouldn't even know this was happening right now.
No.
It would never seen the light of day. It would never seen the light of day. They would have been like, hey, guys, I don't think you really want me here, but don't worry, we got you. And it would have been over with right then. Pete Hegseth would have called them.
Or they would have did what I did and just stay quiet and just kind of gathered the intel, right?
That's the intelligence man. That's the intelligence man in Kevin speaking right there. You can take him out. You can take him out the game, but you can't take the game out of him.
Hey man, I'm in here.
I love it, man. I just want to stay on your good side, man. I want to stay on your good side. So we rightly have been asked. What we sipping on? So I am sipping on bourbon and Coke. Same thing as last week. What about you, man?
I have tequila and pineapple juice.
Snap!
The tequila was given to me by who got it from the Mayans in the ruins of Peru. I'm just joking.
Stop, man. I'm like, man, this dude over here. Well played. I see what you did there.
I had to come with a story. Devin's always got a story like, yes, this scotch is from the hills of Appalachia,
What can I say? I have good friends. Oh, yes, but thank you for
why
reminding
we're day drinking. I don't know where you are, but it's not daytime where we are.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, who said that?
At the bottom, Albert was up.
Oh, hey, Albert. Hey, coming from Twitch. What up, man? Hey, glad to have you, man. Thank you to our Twitch viewers, and also thank you to our viewers on X. We got a lot of people who have tuned in from X. Awesome. Really appreciate that. It is. We on the East Coast, man. We on the East Coast. It is almost 9 o'clock my time, almost 8 o'clock Kev's time. And it is prime drinking hour where we are.
Yeah, and that's the song say. It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, baby. 5 o'clock somewhere. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you.
If 9 o'clock is daytime.
9 o'clock is daytime. Oh man, where you coming from, Albert? Put it in the chat. Where you coming from, man?
Oh man. Hey, I will say this. I was in the Southeast. by 9 o'clock it's dark, even in the summertime. Oh, Romania.
My man's coming all the way from Romania. That is awesome, man. Thank you for watching, man. Please tell some of your Romanian friends. Welcome.
Yeah. I was in Kentucky one time, and it was 9 o'clock, and it was so bright outside. It felt so weird. I was like, I've never experienced this before.
Yeah.
Cause like down in like the South, like Alabama, Florida, by 9 o'clock, it is dark, It was, man, we were outside. It was like a little, band was playing. We were just out there. It's 9 o'clock, and it was just, the sun was out. And I was like, this is so weird, but I loved it. 9 o'clock could be daytime somewhere.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, man. No, he said in June, the sun stays up there till 11:30. Man, daylight. That's awesome.
Yeah.
If I was a kid,
I could do that. Oh, yeah.
If I was a kid in the summertime.
Oh, man. Incredible.
Yes.
I'd be loving it.
Yes.
Loving it.
Yeah. But no, things are a little different here, man. It's pitch black outside right now.
Yeah. Now, peak summer, it'll still be light outside at 9 p.m. It'll still be. You'll still have some light outside at 9 o'clock. That's my time, man. I love that.
Yeah, and I guess that you're on Eastern, because that's 8 o'clock my time. 8 o'clock it still would be daylight for me.
Yeah.
But by the time it's 9 o'clock here, it's dark.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
So that'd be 10 o'clock your time. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like there's some in the absolute peak. It's like you still got light outside, and it's almost 10 o'clock. Throws you off as a parent because you're like, oh man, I let these kids stay up too late. That's when you out there, you're grilling, you got the cornhole boards out with your friends. It's like, bump it. They're going to bed at midnight tonight. I don't care. I'm not stopping this cornhole game.
Oh man. Speaking of Romania, I think it's Romania. So I don't know. Most people don't know this, but each state has a sister European country they're matched up with. And I believe the state of Alabama's sister country, because I live in Alabama, I think our sister country is Romania.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
How about that?
So, yeah. So we do some relations together.
Oh, that's
some work
cool.
Together. Yep. All right, man. So do you have any other thoughts on the Signal chat leak?
I don't, man. I think we can move on to talking about punishing some statists in the media. I'm getting us in trouble. I'm already getting us in trouble. It's okay. I'm unburdened tonight, baby. I'm unburdened. Oh man. Okay. So the next thing that we're gonna hit on, obviously there was a big hearing this week, NPR and PBS. I actually still have not gotten to see. I have not gotten to see most of this hearing. I've only seen like little clips here and there. My opinions on NPR and PBS are formed. I'm just happy that this is happening. But we can cut to the video. We got some of that to play for y'all.
Gil.
Thank you, Chairwoman Green, and I apologize. I'm getting over a cold, so I'm losing my voice here. Ms. Marr, I want to start with you. Just generally, would you say you generally agree or disagree with the following statement? The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles?
I would not say I agree with that, sir.
That's good to hear. It's interesting because a lot of your thinking, as expressed by your public statements, is deeply infused with economic and cultural Marxism. Do you believe that America is addicted to white supremacy?
I believe that I tweeted that, and as I've said earlier, I believe much of my thinking has evolved over the last half decade.
Lies.
It has evolved. Why did you tweet that?
I don't recall the exact context, sir, so I wouldn't be able to say.
Lies.
Okay. Do you believe that America believes in black plunder and white democracy?
I don't believe that, sir.
You tweeted that in reference to a book you were reading at the time, apparently, The Case for Reparations.
I don't think I've ever read that book, sir.
You tweeted about it. You said You took a day off to fully read the case for reparations. You put that on Twitter in January of 2020.
Apologies, I don't recall that I did.
Okay.
I no doubt that your tweet there is correct, but I don't recall that.
Okay. Do you believe that white people inherently feel superior to other races?
I do not.
You don't. You tweeted something to that effect. You said, I grew up feeling superior. Ha, how white of me. Why did you tweet that?
I think I was probably reflecting on what it was to grow up in an environment where I had lots of advantages.
It sounds like you're saying that white people feel superior.
I don't believe that anybody feels that way, sir. I was just reflecting on my own experiences.
Do you think that white people should pay reparations?
I've never said that, sir.
Yes, you did. You said it in January of 2020. You tweeted, yes, the North, yes, all of us, yes, America, yes, our original collective sin and unpaid debt, yes, reparations, yes, on this day.
I don't believe that was a reference to fiscal reparations, sir.
What kind of reparations was it a reference to?
I think it was just a reference to the idea that we all owe much to the people who came before us.
That's a bizarre way to frame what you tweeted. Okay, how much reparations have you personally paid?
Sir, I don't believe that I've ever paid reparations.
Okay, it's just for everybody else.
I'm not asking anyone
Seems
to pay
to be what you're
reparations, sir.
suggesting. Do you believe that looting is morally wrong?
I believe that looting is illegal, and I refer to it as counterproductive. I think it should be prosecuted.
Do you
to the
believe
full
it's
extent of the
morally
law.
wrong, though?
Of course.
Of course. Then why did you refer to it as counterproductive? It's a very different way to describe it.
It is both morally wrong and counterproductive, as well as being
You
illegal.
tweeted, it's hard to be mad about protests in reference to the BLM protests, not prioritizing the private property of a system of oppression. You didn't condemn the looting. You said that it was counterproductive. NPR also promoted a book called In Defense of Looting. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars?
I'm unfamiliar with that book, sir, and I don't believe that was at my
You
time at
tweeted
NPR.
that you read that book, but
I don't believe that I did read that book, sir.
do you think that a few years ago, NPR educated America about, quote, the whole community of genderqueer dinosaur enthusiasts? Do you think that that's an appropriate use of tax dollars?
I was not at NPR at the time, sir.
That's not the question, though. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of our tax dollars?
I think our tax dollars that we use are to be able to provide a wide range of
So I'll
perspectives.
take that as a yes. You do believe that that's appropriate. Your health advisor at NPR also stated in an interview that, quote, fear of fatness is more harmful than actual fat. Would you like to explain how fear of fatness is more harmful than actual fat? That's an editorial at NPR.
I am not familiar with the editorial, and I don't believe that was published during my time here.
It's called Diet Culture is Everywhere. Here's how to fight it. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars?
I think any reporting on health is an appropriate use of
You've
taxpayer
spent-
dollars, yes.
And you think that editorializing that fat is not unhealthy is appropriate?
I don't know what that article is, sir, and I'm not familiar with it, so I
This
couldn't
is
say.
fake news. Do you think that basic accommodations like doorways or seat belts represent, quote, latent fat phobia?
I don't have an opinion.
It's
on that,
also
sir.
from NPR. Do you think civility is racist?
No, sir.
No. Your outlet ran an article entitled, quote, when civility is used as a cudgel against people of color. That was on All Things Considered. Would you like to explain?
I'm not on the editorial side, sir. I'm not familiar with that story.
You talk about how NPR is news. This is editorialization, and I'll read it. For many people of color in the United States, civility isn't so much social lubricant as it is a vehicle for containing them, preventing social mobility, and preserving the status quo. This is garbage. I'll spend all of my time doing everything I can to ensure you guys never get another dollar of taxpayer funding. This is complete garbage. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Gill.
Oh man. So for people
Gangster. That was gangster. Oh man, I enjoyed that so much.
for people who say, what do you mean by woke? That is what woke is. What do you mean by cultural Marxism?
Yes.
That's cultural Marxism.
Yes.
That right there. This woman is she's full-blown woke. I'm not going to say she's a communist, she's a Marxist. I'm just going to say she's woke. She has bought into the idea of seeing the world through a lens of oppression, oppressed and oppressor, and it shapes her views. And he not just her views, but NPR as a whole. I mean, the stuff he was calling out was ridiculous. And so for people who don't know, since we got international tonight, NPR is National Public Radio. Is a government-funded radio network. And you have PBS, which is the public broadcasting service, I believe. And it's the television is a government-funded television program. And so we got radio and television. And they're having these hearings to decide whether we should continue to fund these things. I mean, these things started way back in the day. At the time they started, there was probably a need for it. But today in our television and radio landscape, do we really need government funding television or government funded radio? I would say we don't. And just based on the things that they're putting out, there's no reason for the taxpayers to be funding that. They're not putting out anything that is helpful to the general public. And so just for context, the lady that was being kind of grilled there, her name is Catherine Marr, and she's the CEO of NPR. And so she handles the radio portion, and clearly they have a writing portion as well to that. But yeah, that is what woke looks like. That is what cultural Marxism looks like. That is what we have seen in our media, in the left-wing media for the past decade. It's that type of garbage has just been filling the airways with that type of nonsense. And that's all. And I'll just use the technical term for it, intersectionality, right?
Boom.
The whole fat phobia, fat oppressed because of normalized standards for, non-fat people and like seat belts and doorways. All that is called intersectionality, where you look at every spectrum of life, and in every life, there's an oppressed class and an oppressor class. So if we're talking about weight, then the obese people are oppressed. The non-obese are the oppressors. If we're talking race, then black people of color, are the oppressed. White people are the oppressors. If we're talking about gender, women are the oppressed. Men are the oppressors, right? And just go around the gambit. Children are oppressed. Adults are the oppressors. Like, that is the lens through which they see the world. And that is called intersectionality, because it talks about all these different areas in which someone is oppressed, and then how they intersect with one another. So a black, obese, lesbian, trans, right, has a higher level of intersecting oppression than a straight black male. And so that is the ideology, and that ideology is so prevalent within the left. If you want to understand the left, you have to understand intersectionality and critical theory. It drives everything they believe in today.
Yes.
And so I appreciated that clip, man. Like you said, that dude went straight gangster.
Yeah. I mean, he brought the receipts. There was no way. No matter what she said, there's no way to wiggle out of that. I mean, the way he asked the questions, and he asked all these questions, like, do you believe this? She's like, no. He's like, well, then why'd you tweet this? I mean, and she just kept falling for it. I mean, I'm just like, you do realize every time he asks you one of these questions, you said it, basically. Like, for the first half of his questioning, every time he asks you, do you believe this? You said it, so you better figure something out. To say.
I would say this: she handled it as best she could, because she knows she tweeted it.
Yeah,
and so
she was cooked.
Yeah, she knew she was cooked, but she knew she had to have a plausible answer to get around it. And I thought she did a good job. I mean, from my perspective, it was trash, but I understand how it's going to sound in a soundbite to, let's say, people who already agree with her, right?
Right.
Yeah, she did a good job in terms of navigating those waters, in my opinion.
Yeah, and when we say good job, it's relative, right? Good job is relative. So it's like, you are being shot at you have no cover. You're just trying to get hit in places that are not vital, but you've lost 3 limbs. You've managed to maintain a right hand.
Yeah.
I mean, like that, when we say she did a good job, it's relative to the fact that
Yes.
she was generally cooked.
Yeah. I agree.
There was no way out of that.
Yeah. It was bad.
I will ask, what is your opinion, sir, on there being a state-sponsored media? What is your opinion on that, sir?
It is definitely unnecessary. But I'll say this: there's nothing wrong with state-sponsored media if everyone knows it's state-sponsored and they don't control all media, right? Like in Russia. But at the same time, there's just no need for it in terms of there's a plethora of news organizations out there that are putting things out there. We have C-SPAN. If you want to be government, go watch C-SPAN. You don't need to go to NPR. PBS. At one point in time, PBS did a good job of providing educational material to children for free. Sesame Street and all of those other programs that came on PBS. And so that was probably the best thing they ever did in terms of their function, was provide those educational opportunities to children for free who might come from low income situations. But in this day and age, that's just not necessary. With YouTube and everything else that's out there, there is no need that we should be paying for Sesame Street anymore. It just doesn't. And so I don't, from a philosophical standpoint, I don't have a issue with government funded programming. As long as the media itself isn't state controlled, then that's a problem. But philosophically, I don't have an issue with it. But I know you're my libertarian brother. What you got? What are your feelings on it? Because I think you set that question up in a way I'm like, he got some issues with it.
Oh, you already know.
I know.
So yeah, I was trying to find my pipe so I could put my pipe in my mouth for this segment, but I can't get it out of there fast enough. So I can't get it out the container fast enough. But yeah, so yeah, I got a problem with it. As Jerry's dad on Seinfeld said, I got a problem. I got problems with you people, and now you're going to hear about them. Okay. So here's my thing, man. Here's my thing. I think that, and again, I think that my political philosophy, it definitely leans more libertarian, only in the sense that I think that the government, as the Westminster Confession calls it, the civil magistrate, the scope of what the civil magistrate does should be very limited. And so, we look at Romans 13, and if anybody's asking why I would reference Romans 13, it's because we have to have some measure of objective truth to be able to base things upon that are making moral demands on other people. So, for the people who are for my separation of church and state people, which, by the way, you need to go and look that up. It's actually not law. It was in the Federalist Papers. It's nowhere in the law whatsoever. It was a bad Supreme Court ruling, terrible Supreme Court ruling. I am a strong proponent of the church and the state being separate in the sense that there should not be an established religion. The Founding Fathers took care of that very well in the Constitution. But I say all that to lay some groundwork. Romans 13, purpose of government, to punish evil, commend the good, right? I think that the government is out of step when it gets out of the bounds of protecting and avenging personal life and property.
Yeah, protection and justice.
Yes,
Defense and justice is kind of the role of government. Yes,
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So, healthcare, government has no business in healthcare. Education, government has no business in education. Media, government has no business in media. Putting my flag down. Government has no business in media. NPR should not be funded by the government. If they want to be a private institution, which at this point, let's just be real, they want to be a progressive media organization. They are a progressive media organization. They should go off on their own. Our tax dollars should not have to pay for NPR. Not one dime of our tax dollars should go to NPR. Not one dime of our tax dollars should go to PBS. I think that I enjoyed PBS as a kid. Yeah, I loved Sesame Street. I loved Lamb Chop. I'm aging myself.
Gonna go Lamb
I'm dating
Chops.
myself. Lamb Chop.
Thomas
man.
the Train.
That's right. Thomas the Train, baby. Thomas the Train. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I loved every one of those things. I very much believe that those things can and should be privately funded. They should not be the within the scope of the federal government's operations or responsibilities. And so I think that the idea that NPR gets any of our tax dollars to do reporting is dangerous. I personally think that it's dangerous because they're already quite biased to one side, and they would say they're not. Of course, they would say that they're not biased. I didn't see any problem with NPR until I became a conservative, and then I was like, oh, wait a minute, these people are
It's
quite.
because they talk like this. Hey guys, welcome to NPR. We're glad you're with us. We should start doing the show like this, right?
We should.
Just be soothing, you know. So let's talk about reparations. No, that's NPR right there. That is NPR.
It is. You were just listening to the smooth sounds of Marxism.
Hey, but I will say this on the way you laid it out. I agree with you. I wasn't thinking about it from that standpoint. I was just kind of thinking of current day, current situation, current way the government functions. Yeah, I don't have that's kind of, if I was going to lay out what's my philosophical purpose of government and then say, okay, should government be involved in this? No, you laid it out perfectly. From a philosophical standpoint of the way the government should function in its role, then yeah, there would be no reason for a government-funded media. That just doesn't play a role,
Oh man. Yes, amen. Man, I was missing some comments over there. Hey, appreciate that.
Hey, no,
Leroy.
Pitt Matt's coming up there.
The Hammond, man. I got to find the Hammond B3, man. I don't know why I haven't gotten it yet. I definitely got to find the Hammond B3.
You got to get it from DWC because I know he has it.
He's got to have the Hammond. We got to ask Virgil Walker for permission to use the Hammond. We'll see if Verge gives us a hall pass to use the Hammond. Yeah, hey, I like what Leroy said. Let's tax the Democrats to support NPR because that's who's listening. Y'all pay for NPR.
That's a good. Hey, we got a good comment. I think is worth discussing. VFro4 down there at the bottom. It says progressive versus conservatives in an old and outdated paradigm. I agree. The war front between common citizens and power has shifted towards freedom of economy and medical industry. Identity politics is the red herring. I don't disagree with that. We still use those terms for lack of a better way to frame things. The way I believe it is, the way I like to frame it is Western culture. From what I see as the two large battles playing out in terms of worldviews that are clashing. I see it as Western civilization, which was founded on a Judeo-Christian or a Christian framework, right? A Christian worldview versus a progressive leftist Marxist worldview, which wishes to destroy the original foundation of Western civilization and take it over. And every time I look at these conflicts, that's usually where we're seeing conflict as our founding principles versus those who wish to destroy them. And those things is usually coming from a Marxist type of worldview, which teaches people in the West that our foundation is bad, our the roots of our nation are bad and flawed and need to be destroyed. You got to tear down the systems of oppression. Racism is our original sin. All of these types of things. When we talk about intersectionality, critical theory, it's all from the Marxist framework, which is their whole goal of the Marxist framework is to tear down the West. And so that's how I believe the actual. And so this past election, I think that's why we see so many people who we used to describe as on the left or used to be Democrats actually came over because it was no longer conservative versus liberal, right? That's really not what we're dealing with anymore. The Trump administration has Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. in it, right? That's not nobody would call them conservatives.
Yeah.
It is those who believe founding principles of America versus those who believe we need to destroy those and replace it with something else, right? We need to progress towards this better future and be unburdened by the past, as Kamala Harris was trying to tell us. We need to be unburdened by the past, unburdened by traditions, which is just a Marxist theme, right? Because that's holding us back from progressing to where we need to go. And so, that was a good comment.
Yeah, I would say, the only thing I disagree with, I don't think that it's necessarily between common citizens and or freedom of economy and and medical industry. Or maybe saying that it's between power and the freedom of economy and medical industry, and that I would agree.
Yeah.
Yes. Because there is essentially that is it. It's a difference between believing in the ultimacy of the state and centralization, and that is the battle now. But I could come at this from another angle, that the conservative side really is. The conservative side is we are still trying to conserve the ideas of the framers. That is still relevant. One of the questions that I got from a mentor of mine, which he got from someone else. It's not a unique question. Many have asked it, but conserve what? One of the problems with just saying conservative is, what are you trying to conserve? Another popular statement is conservatives they allow progressives or liberals to make certain mistakes, and then they try to stop later liberals from making further mistakes. They try to preserve the existing mistakes and try to prevent future mistakes. And that's what it's felt like for a long time. This administration's the first time that I feel like we're actually trying to clean house, that we're actually trying to get back on the right path. And I do think that in that sense, the idea of progressive versus conservative is not the correct paradigm to look at this through.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not, because I have friends, we know people who would be left or center from that old framework, but voted for Trump, right? Because that's not the paradigm anymore. That is not the determination by which our vote is placed anymore. The battle has shifted. The framing has shifted. And as I wrote in my article a couple of weeks ago about, people who try to sit in the center, I'm like, if you're a centrist, congratulations, you're a Republican.
That's right. I mean,
welcome aboard.
The very conservative part of me is not comfortable with that. But it's true. That is exactly what it is now. If you were a centrist before, guess what? welcome to the team.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
Because the left has moved so far left, the Overton window has shifted.
Yes.
That you are now you're now right wing. I hate to break it to you. You're now right wing. I don't want us in the Republican Party. I do not want us to lose sight of the fact that we are to be for free trade, for freedom of economic movement. That we're to be for small government, for limited federal power, all of those things. We are going to have to fight to make sure that the Republican Party does not veer to the left, and that's been my concern with Trump rising to power, because Trump has admitted that he's not a conservative. He's admitted that.
He's a pragmatist and a populist.
Right, exactly, and he said one time, he's like, why does the Republican Party have to be conservative? I'm like, okay, man. I think that it's important that we remind people, because people don't know this. We talk about how much the average American just doesn't have a political philosophy, how much the average American just doesn't really know much about these things. And I think that now's the time. We have an unprecedented, I shouldn't say unprecedented, but I would say a very, very rare opportunity to educate the electorate, to show them, hey, the stuff that you guys, thought the Republicans were just being weird about, when COVID hit, you got to see it unmasked. You got to see it unmasked.
I
That's
see what you
we've
did
been
there.
talking about.
I see what you did there. Unmasked. I like that.
Hey, appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. It was accidental, but I'll take credit for it. But I mean, that's we have such an opportunity now to say, hey, if you're a freedom-loving American, okay, conservative is a 4-letter word to you, right? Let's not use that word right now. Let's just say, hey, you love being free. You love being able to go and get a job and make exceed or build a business and exceed as much as you can. And the government not take that from you just because you managed to be successful. Maybe you believe you should be able to say whatever you want without the federal government coming and going to social media networks and telling them to shut you down and shut your account down or shadow ban your account. That's the stuff we've been about this. This is what we're actually about. So forget the moniker. Let's get on board with the principles. Freedom. That's what we're about. If you want to be on that team, welcome.
Constraining the power of government. That's the whole purpose of our way of government was to put in place, was to constrain the power of government, because government power corrupts, right? Yeah. And so, yeah. All right. So I want to skip the quote that we had from Catherine Mayer. It's a good quote, but I feel like, I think we need to move on from the story. And I don't want to go back down that. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole about postmodernism and stuff like that, because her quote about truth is just insane.
Very postmodern.
Yeah. But let's go to our new segment. What in the X, right? So,
oh yeah. All right. Let's go.
All right. So, as you guys know, X is full of all types of crazy and just very good content. And so I was like, hey, why don't we just start reacting to some of the crazy that we see on our Twitter feed? And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to look at some stuff that's out there and just kind of spend a few minutes talking about each one of these things. And so here it is, our good friend, Candace Owens, back on her The Jews Did It routine.
The Jews.
And so this is so weird and lame that we all are still pretending like we don't know who murdered JFK. Like my whole timeline is feigning shock and surprise that it wasn't Lee Harvey Oswald. LOL. One nation under blackmail, indeed. And so, if you're not familiar with Candace's line of thinking, she believes that the United States is on control and influence of Israel, and that everything that we do is basically a Jewish plot, and we're just the pawns for Israel. And so here it is. And so this is just her tweet to she's doubling down on that. The Jews did. Israel killed JFK. And so what are your thoughts on this, man?
Oh, man, I'm so tired. I'm so I'm so tired, man. So how do you get here? I'm a little bit perplexed, man, at the crazification of Candace Owens. I mean, she really did. She really has gone off the deep end. And I think we talked a little bit about it. I can't remember if we talked about it last week, but her husband may have played a large role in her kind of going down this
Oh,
route.
he has. So number one, he's Catholic. She converted over to Catholicism. And so if you want to understand Candace and her framing and her worldview now, it is a very religious thing, right? That's why she converted to Catholicism. And she's seeing the world through a lens of good versus evil, which that's not necessarily wrong.
Right.
But her good is Christianity, and the evil is basically these Jews, right? And so, she starts questioning World War II and dropping the atomic bombs on Japan. That was really, you don't know it, but that was really an attack against Christianity, against Christians in Japan. And that was done by these Jews. And she goes down this rabbit hole. And so everything is explained as this Christian fight against these evil Jews. And sometimes she says, well, they're not even real Jews. They're whatever. Like, she has this whole framework. But that is the lens in which she sees the world. And so it explains to her everything. And so, yeah, of course, Jews were mentioned in the CIA papers. Israel was mentioned. So therefore, clearly, Israel did it, right? Forget all the other mentions, because I think somebody else put a tweet or the comments. It was like Israel mentioned twice in the documents. KGB mentioned like 1,400 times, right? But clearly, it was the Jews.
But it was the Jews, yeah. The Mossad agent was, got out of Dodge. He disappeared. That means it was him. And I'm like, okay, all right, y'all. Like,
yeah, forget the fact that Lee Harvey Oswald met with Russian and Cuban officials in the city a week prior, right? He was clearly involved. The issue was he wasn't the only involved. That's the thing. And so he was involved. He did what they claimed he did. He was the person up in the window. But if you see that video, there was what you want to call it, there was another shooter, right? He was not the only shooter. And so who else was involved? Who really orchestrated it? Was it just the KGB? Did Lyndon B. Johnson play a role in it? We know Kennedy was at odds with the CIA at the time, and he wanted to disband it. Did they take him out? Was it the military-industrial complex that didn't want us to pull out of Vietnam, want us to go full on in? Like, there were so many different interests of people who JFK was in the way of their interest, right? But nothing in those papers really told us who did it.
right.
It just didn't. It still didn't fill the holes in it, because there's a lot of people said, people who follow this and investigate this like really in depth said that most of that was already public knowledge. Like, they already knew a lot of that stuff. And so it was still interesting for me to read. but it did not tell us who did it or who was behind it or who paid him or who. It just didn't. And so to say that, oh, we can pull from those documents, oh, clearly it was Israel, it's just no.
Yeah, that's one of the things that it's sad, because when she first came out as Red Pill Black, when she was on the scene as Red Pill Black, that was her name on YouTube. I mean, her stuff was legit, and yeah, we've kind of gone this route, and yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, was Israel somehow involved in it? It's not clear. It's not clear how or if. I don't, it's wild.
Yeah. Yes.
According to Zoolander, it was a male model. Yeah, that's right.
Now go to the next one. Go to the next one.
And according to Candace, it's a
Jewish male model.
Oh, man, you might just win comment of the night, man. That's too good. Yeah, I mean, and you're right, Future. Candace is willing to fill in the blanks. I mean, she is basically turned into she trying to have Alex Jones pass a baton on to her or something. I mean, the conspiracy theories are just wild. And
that's what I'll say. I do, despite the accusations, I do not believe Candace is a grifter. I don't believe she's just jumping on a train, a grift. No, I think she gives her true and honest opinions and thoughts. And this is just where she has moved to, based on, like I said, COVID broke a lot of people. And once you start mistrusting things and you start questioning everything you've ever been told, everything you've ever been taught, and you start going on this hole of discovering what the truth is, man, you are so susceptible to every type of counter narrative to the mainstream narrative, right? Which is going to be a lot of these offshoot things, a lot of these conspiracy theories. And once you start going on that lane, you got to be very careful you don't lose yourself, right? To where you're just rejecting, like, oh, everything we've ever been told has been a lie.
Right.
Everything, every historian has lied. Like, no. And so that's where it's just no balance to it. She's just all in. And she's just going too far. But yeah, let's move on to the next what in the X. Oh man. So I thought this was interesting, and I did Google it to make sure it was true. So, we've been having a lot of judicial activism. A lot of the Democrat strategy has been Trump by tying him up in the courts. Get some low-level district judge to put an injunction in for something he's trying to do. Well, the one who blocked the illegal immigration or deporting the Mexican gang members or Venezuelan gang members, right? And told Trump them to turn the plane back and all that craziness. Well, his daughter actually works for an NGO that defends these MS-13 gang members. And I looked it up, and she does. She does. And so here it is. Her father is putting this injunction in to stop the deportation of these gang members. And at the same time, his daughter worked for an NGO that defends these gang members. Like, don't tell me this isn't politically motivated. This is not about the law and Trump following the law and not following the law. No, this is judicial activism. And so when I saw this, and I was like, what? And so you see Elon Musk tweeted out, and it's like, concerning.
Understatement. Understatement.
Yes. Yeah. So what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I mean, I think that where there's smoke, there's fire. I mean, that's kind of my attitude towards this. I think that it shows that there's definite interest here. I think that this is enough that judge absolutely should have recused. I think that he should have recused himself. And this is, I mean, if you want to talk about a conflict of interest, this is it. I mean, in my opinion, this is textbook conflict of interest right here. He should have recused himself. If he was going to get involved in this at all, it should have been somebody else. So I think this is a big problem. And I mean, again, one of the things that I do, I play the game of let's flip the script. Let's flip the script. If this was a judge that leaned conservative, because judges are supposed to be nonpartisan, but we know that they can tend to lean conservative or progressive or what have you, originalist or progressive, if you want to use a paradigm that's more applicable to the judiciary. If it was a conservative leaning judge or an originalist leaning judge, I mean, the headlines, it would have already been called out on MSNBC. Would have already been called out. I mean,
he would have been a white supremacist and a racist and everything else by now.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the whole your daughter heads up an NGO that has a direct interest in this particular executive order. Oh, yeah.
And not only that, it's funded through USAID and grants, which the Trump administration has cut off.
Right. Conflict of interest, massive, blaring. I mean, all the red flags, all the blaring lights, conflict of interest. If it was a conservative-leaning judge, y'all would be mad. But you ain't. You're not, because the judge did something that you wanted him to do. This is a textbook conflict of interest. That's my opinion.
Yep. Like I said, lawfare, man. It is lawfare.
Facts.
All right. What else we got? What else is going on X?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh, I know what this one is.
Yeah. We got some videos to watch.
It gets crazier and crazier, guys. That we just tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. Let's go to this video.
All right. So for those of you who don't speak Arabic, I'll translate for you. I'm just kidding. I don't speak Arabic either. Despite my degree being in Middle Eastern studies, I did horrible in Arabic class. But according to the Post, this woman, this is like a Free Palestine type march, a Palestinian support type organization or event that's taking place, and basically saying she doesn't want the LGBTQ activists there who are also trying to be there to support Palestine. And so basically, I just want to point out that the Muslims are not down with the intersectionality. They don't see their cause being in line with the LGBT cause of a common oppressor. They're not buying the narrative. And the whole trans for Palestine and queers for Palestine stuff never made any sense, because it's like, do you know what those people would do to you if you were actually in Palestine?
That's right.
And talking about you're queer or talking about your LGBTQ? They would unalive you, right? And here's this lady. Yes. And this lady she's just basically saying, like, we don't want you here. That's not their cause. They're not down with the rainbow. These are fundamentalist Muslims. They are not progressive. They are not down with intersectionality, and they are not trying to march next to your pride flag.
That's exactly right. I mean, so this right here is a picture. It's a picture of what's real. Okay, so I think it's very interesting. It's very interesting that for the most part, you've had supporters of Hamas, pro-Palestine people who are actual Muslims, who are real, real Muslims, real, Hamas sympathizers. Those people have been relatively silent. This is one of the first times that I've actually seen them speak out against this whole Queers for Palestine thing, because, yeah, every one of them knows, every single one of them knows that if Sharia was in place, or if they were in Palestine, they would kill them. They would kill them all. Y'all have heard me on some other shows where we've shown some clips of people protesting for Palestine, and I've said things like, there's several things happening in this video that would not be okay in Palestine.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, some of the clothes that the women were wearing. I mean, you clearly have people who are, down with the rainbow, in that march, dead.
Yeah. Now you do have some and you usually find these people on university campuses. These are the very westernized, progressive Muslims who have bought into the intersectionality, right? Who have bought into critical theory and do see it as, this common oppressor, right? And they will go march with and support, and accept the support of the alphabet community. But those aren't the fundamental.
No.
Those are just the westernized progressives in college and universities, right?
That's right.
The fundamentalist Muslims, the ones who would follow what we would call Salafism, or we'll just call it political Islam. No. If they put Sharia law into place, that is not going to be allowed.
No.
And so I thought this video was interesting because it's the first time I've actually seen this conflict, because we know it's a conflict, but the typical images we see are usually from the university campus, where there's more the progressive, educated wing of quote unquote Muslims, and not the true fundamentalist Muslims who are like going to mosque on a weekly basis. And, it's kind of like with Christianity. You got people that, they're culturally Christian, but their whole idea and worldview is just very progressive and left, it's the same thing within Islam. But then when you go to like an actual like Christian and say, what do you believe on this? They're like, no, you're going to get something completely different, versus talking to the person who claims to be Christian or identifies as Christian, but it's just very, very left and progressive.
That's exactly right. That's the comparison I was going to make. Well done. That's exactly right. It's the same thing. So this right here, that's Palestine's. It's almost Palestine's real opinion of that. Palestine's real opinion of that dude gets tossed off the top of that building they standing next to. That's Palestine's real opinion of that right there.
And we're not just making that actually does happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, we were being specific. They specifically throw gay people off of buildings. Just saying, they did that
as a form of execution. Yes.
Yes.
That's how they do it. We've got one more what in the X, and I saved it for last for a reason. Oh my goodness.
All right, here we go.
Good morning to everybody who is not in the U.S. military. Good morning to everybody who is sitting at home and not on soil that doesn't belong to them, fighting a war for a country that doesn't care about them. I hope you go over there and get your little brain all scrambled up with PTSD, and then come back here and see how much the United States cares about you, Pookie. See how much they care about you when you come back with, I'm so sad. I piss my pants every time I see a falafel stand in Manhattan. Let's see how much the VA cares about you. Let's see what they tell you to do with your little broken brain from going over to fight a war that's not yours. They're going to tell you to try breathing exercises because the U.S. government does not give a fuck about you once you cannot die for them. Once you're done, once you're a shell, they don't care about you. What did I say on Z-Way that one time? Yeah, I think that still stands as very accurate. Good morning to
Yeah. Oh my God.
All right. So I figured I was going to have to explain this one. For those who do not know who she is, her name is Mia Khalifa. She, at one point in time, was the #1 adult film star in America. And this is what's crazy. So I think she's Lebanese. And so this is how she became really known from outside of that industry. because there was several news stories because she was facing death threats as a Muslim woman doing that type of stuff. And I think it had something to do with like wearing like traditional Muslim garb and stuff like that. And so there were like death threats on her life, and she was in hiding and all this type of stuff. But now the same people who wanted to murder her, she's like defending. You know, she is now defending and talking about she hopes U.S. soldiers get PTSD and all this kind of stuff, and talking about, you know, who's on someone else's land and all this. It just makes no sense. Because where is she living? I think she's in the U.S.
Exactly.
She's in the U.S. She's not in Lebanon. She's not in Syria. She's nowhere in the Middle East. She is under the protection and safety of the United States. And yet she has the nerve to try to I don't know. It's almost like she's trying to keep it real for her people. It's like, but your people would murder you.
That's right, dude.
You're in hiding. You're in hiding because there's a bounty on your head for disrespecting Islam, right?
You need a whole ocean between you and your people to make sure that you can stay alive, because your people would kill you for what you have done. They would kill you. The U.S. allows you to be basically a thought. They allow you to be a thought. They allow you to do what you're doing over here, right? Like I'm saddened that our culture allows this, but it does, and the only reason you get to do that is because you're here. Because let's go ahead and make it clear, she wouldn't be safe in the UK. Go over to the UK and try that. You wouldn't be safe in the UK because of what's happening in the UK. You would not be safe. They'd find you. They would find you. She wouldn't be safe in France. They'd find you. Yeah, they'd find you. Because France got a whole problem over there. I mean, you wouldn't be safe in Germany. They'd find you.
Yeah, just in Europe in general. Yeah, and so you're right. She needs the whole ocean between her and them. And even still, I think I'm pretty sure she's very careful about giving her location and stuff like that. It's just sad. Like, you enjoy the freedom and security of the U.S., but yet you want to act like you got a rep for your people who you can't even go and live with and be, because you would be murdered. Yeah, it makes no sense.
Yeah. So I wanted to go and look this up in the spirit of our show. We try to be informed. Her family immigrated to the U.S. in 2001. She has been in the sex industry.
Now I hate what happened to her. You know, you bring over a Muslim girl and then she grows up and get into that type of industry. I mean, only in America, right? So that's one of the things I do hate about our culture, that exists. But at the same time, she chose it as a free adult.
Yeah. She went to University of Texas. She went to University of Texas and at El Paso. And she chose to go into that industry. I mean, where else you gonna do that as a quote unquote Muslim woman and not be dead? Here, that's where you gonna do that. Here,
I mean, we don't have to be for it, right? But at the same time, nobody's murdering you for it.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Yeah. That's wild, man. That's wild right there. It's cognitive dissonance right there. That is peak cognitive dissonance right there. Just how do you marry those two things in your mind?
Yeah, because it earlier just hit me. So she's from Lebanon, but she might be ethnically Palestinian, or what we call Palestinians, right? Right. Because they're found in, of course, Gaza and the West Bank, Israel, but they're also found in Jordan and Lebanon. And so, because a lot of them went to Lebanon throughout history and caused a lot of issues up there. So when we talk about Hezbollah being in Lebanon, a lot of times it's a lot of the Palestinians up there. And so I wonder if she's ethnically Palestinian. That just crossed my mind. But
could be.
Either way, she can't go home.
Nope.
She can't go there. And yet
man.
the country who's providing her safety, security, freedom, and capitalism to make a living, even if you don't have to agree with it or not, that's the country she wants to.
Yeah. That's wild, man. That junk is wild. I don't know how she gets to thinking that her people in any way support her. I don't.
No, I mean, I don't think she does. But it's one of those things of, like I say, it's that whole I got to keep it real for my people. We see black people do it all the time.
Oh yes.
Right.
Oh goodness. Yes.
Yeah, Muslims in Europe. That is a crisis that we need to talk about. They
have a problem.
They do. Man, yeah, that's a whole nother discussion. I'm starting my thoughts. As soon as I saw that, my mind started going. I started getting these thoughts. Like, if I start talking about that, we're gonna go down that rabbit hole. This is not the time. This is not the time.
Live show loading.
Oh man. But so that's our new segment, What in the X. If you like it, let us know. We'll keep it around. Like I say, it's so many things on X that's kind of worth we can just talk about for a few minutes and move on. And so let us know if you guys like that. Put it in the chat and let us know.
Yes.
If you like it. Should we keep it up? Should we keep doing it or what? So So what were your thoughts, man? First time.
Hey, I think it's great. X is, love it or hate it. I think that Elon was right in saying that X was in a lot of ways, Twitter was a public square. It's where you could go and say something and people who don't follow you could see it. And, Facebook is different in that sense that generally, unless you make something public, only people who you're connected to on Facebook, who you're friends with on Facebook, are going to see it. Instagram, if Instagram decides to show it to you, same way. I mean, X, obviously, the algorithm's got to decide to show it to you. But Instagram was a different story. But Twitter was where, I mean, to be honest with you, like I get my breaking news from Twitter more than I get it from anywhere else.
True.
Because generally somebody on Twitter, now you can't just trust everything that comes off of X.
If it's on Twitter, it's real, man. If it's on X, it's real.
Amen. But like, you would hear about a lot of stuff way faster than traditional news on X. And so, obviously a lot of traditional news media, they've tried to get on X and to also, and I appreciate the media being on X and using that platform because I prefer for it to come out there. But that also means, X the Wild West, man. X is the Wild West. And so you're going to see some crazy stuff on X.
Yeah. Yeah. So, on X, you have your following and then you have your For You. And so depends on what you want to see in your everything I just pulled is from my For You section. It's not in my following section, which is pretty tame. But when I go to For You, it's just so many. It's a treasure trove of just craziness going on.
Yes.
Yes.
Most of my stuff, I get a lot of stuff. Most of my stuff that I see in my feed is not from people that I follow. It's the For You feed. And I get to see things from people who I wouldn't even know to follow. The thing that I love about it is that I wouldn't even know to follow this person. But something that somebody said who I don't know is gaining traction, and I get to see it on X. Yeah. And I just don't know on any other platform. Really, I guess the only other platform where that happens a lot is YouTube. And I am one of the more newfangled YouTube users. I mean, younger generation uses it this way. Like, I'll open YouTube, I don't even know what I'm gonna watch. Like, I don't open it just because I'm gonna look something
that's
up.
me. Yeah, that's me every day.
Yeah, like I'm looking at what's in the feed. I never used to do that. I never used to open YouTube unless I was looking for something specific. I open YouTube now like I open up X. Like I'm like, hey, what they talking about?
It's like scrolling the menu on cable. I'm trying to see what's on.
100%. Right? YouTube is my TV now. YouTube is my TV now. Like I barely ever turn on my TV. Hilariously, most of the time when I turn on the TV, it's to cast something from YouTube. YouTube is TV for me now. Hey, we on TV, man.
Oh
yeah,
man.
But that good idea. I love it. I need to put together a little graphic. We need to have an intro, like a segment intro for that. I'm gonna work on a little graphic for that.
Nice. All right. So last week we introduced a new segment called Book of the Week. And so let's get to our Book of the Week this week.
All right.
All right. So this book is called Critical Dilemma. It's written by two guys I'm very familiar with, Neil Shenvi and Pat Sawyer. So we talk a lot about critical theory and just, critical race theory and just that whole framework of thinking. So these guys did a great job of writing this book to break it. The thing I like about this book, and so this picture is from my actual Amazon review. I took it from Amazon because I did a review on it. They do a great job of tackling this topic from the original sources, letting the original sources themselves lay out what it is and what they believe. But yet it's an academic level book, but where the average person can read it and understand it. Right? It's not a bunch of mumbo jumbo. When you read a lot of the original works, you like your head just hurts, right? Because it's just not for the average reader. And so they do a great job of keeping it at the academic level, but explaining it out in a way that it is very manageable for the average person to read and understand. It's also a very thick book. This is not a small. They do a good job. They do a good job. Yeah. Man. So this isn't some little paperback book, right? But it is the best book on the topic. And it is written. So it says the rise of critical theories and social justice ideology, implications for the church and society. Do not let that implications for the church throw you off. This is the best book on the topic, regardless. It is not whether you're Christian or not, and they speak to that. This is a book to help people in general understand what's going on. And yours truly may or may not be quoted in it. Just saying.
Oh, snap. Wait a minute now.
Yep.
Wait a minute.
Yep. So I was actually leading a book club through this book. And when I lead book clubs, I typically read week to week with the group till my thoughts are fresh. I don't try to read ahead and then just kind of do it. I read as we go. And so I had not read a particular chapter before we spoke about it. And then in our little Google feed, somebody was like, what is this? And they put the whole quote in there. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know. I didn't even know I had been quoted in the book. And so that was a cool surprise when I was leading the book club. And actually when we led the book club, it was through Zoom. And actually Neil and Pat on our last day meeting came to the group and actually took questions. And so it was really helpful. I highly recommend this book if you just really want to understand kind of the world today and the ideology and what's going on and the craziness. This book is the best book on the topic. So
that's awesome. No, that makes me want to read it because just getting into discussions about critical theories and essentially the lens that they come from, Oh my goodness. Kevin has
Yep.
added a couple inches to his chin.
Hey, that was my beard pre-retirement. I had to shave it off at least once a month to start over. I don't have to start over anymore. So yeah.
Welcome to the beard gang, sir. Welcome to the
I
beard
appreciate
gang.
it. I appreciate it.
You're a member in good standing, man. But yeah, I mean, just talking about critical theories and their impact on the church, on American thought in general. It's so interesting to me. Interesting is probably that's a sugar-coated word. It's alarming is a better word. It's alarming to me how much I run into people adopting language and sometimes therefore concepts of critical theory unknowingly because it has become so pervasive. It's become so pervasive, especially among educated black folks. Folks, it's very pervasive, and it alarms me that it's got real estate now. It's got real estate now in people's minds, and they don't even realize like, hey, do you know where? Like, do you know the roots of this thing that you're talking about? Like, do you know where that came from? Do you know what the basic assumptions of that viewpoint is? Like, you know, or are like, do you know what the implications are of you taking that viewpoint, what that means about what you're subscribing to, and what the logical conclusions of that are? I realize you have a thing that you have a grievance about, and we can talk about that. But you adopting this thing that you heard, you need to understand where it came from. The lineage of where that came from, because there are basic assumptions that are worldview level assumptions that are based in critical theory. That is, I mean, it's a cocktail of Marxism, all kinds of stuff that you're adopting when you take that viewpoint. Straight up.
Yep. 100%. And so I thought of a good analogy in terms of helping you to kind of describe. If you're familiar with James Lindsay, who does a lot of great work on this topic.
Yes.
Think of James Lindsay, but easier to understand, because James is so smart and he just talks, and sometimes it's over your head, and he starts using names throughout history and ideas. And you're like, okay, I'm kind of keeping up with you, James, but you're going on a rabbit trail and of your thoughts. And these guys are like, from understanding the topic, they're kind of at a James Lindsay level, but makes it easier for you to read and digest and understand. And so
that's great.
That's great. Yeah.
One of the critiques that I get from my wife all the time is I am too quick to throw out an ism. So I'll throw out, we'll be talking about something and I'll point out that something is Marxism, and she'll say, well, hey, like the average person doesn't know what that is. Like, to the average person, like conservatives just like throwing that out, and that means that like, oh, that's bad, but they don't know why it's bad. And they, to them, it just looks like you just throw that out and that's supposed to shut down the conversation, but it doesn't shut down the conversation for them. And you've got to do better than just throwing out the term Marxism and thinking that that explains why something should be shunned. And I think she's right. My question to you would be, like, in this book, do they do a good job of that?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, man, they do a good job of, I love dealing with the primary sources, right? And so there's, especially in the media, there was so much misinformation, so much denialism of what critical theory is, to where when you read the original sources, the primary sources, right, they are very clear on what it is. Like, for instance, the media will say, they say critical theories in school, that is laughable. Critical race theories in school, that's trash, that's garbage. They don't know what they're talking about. But then when you read the book, Critical Theory, on like one of the very first page, they talk about how it spread through education and in the schools. Like, they are saying it, but then when you say it as opposition, it's like, oh, what are you, that's crazy talk. That's just, you have no idea what you're talking about. It's only in legal studies and universities. It's like, That's not even what they say in their own book.
Right. Yeah. That's what's his face? Who wrote Rules for Radicals?
Saul
Alinsky. Yeah,
Yes.
that is a Rules for Radicals move. That's
It
a
is.
Saul Alinsky move to, when the opposition points something out, you have to ridicule them, even if it's true. You ridicule them to basically make it look like they're crazy, even though what they're saying is exactly right.
Yeah, we see it all the time. And so, they do a great job in this book of dealing with the primary sources and letting them define what they believe, versus Neil and Pat saying this is what they believe. Like, no, let them explain it.
That's awesome.
So,
that's excellent. I'm definitely gonna have to pick that up. That's very good.
Yeah, you definitely should.
Man, I didn't know about this book club though. What's going on with this book club that I didn't know about? I need to know about this book club, man.
Well, so I don't lead book clubs anymore, but the Center for Biblical Unity every quarter or every semester does through different books. Books are books from people we know like this, that are helpful and that we agree with, and sometimes it's books that we don't agree with. Like we went through the book on critical race theory written by I'm drawing a blank. But anyway, sometimes it's books that we don't agree with. I've led through books that I was like, I don't agree with this author, but it's a big subject right now, and we're going to read through what their position is. We're going to talk about it. And so, so if you go to the Center for Biblical Unity, they have a whole tab for book clubs. You go there, and you can register for book clubs as they come open. And so
that's very cool.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. Yeah.
I'm trying to find which book, because you're mentioning the book on critical race theory. It's written by, if I'm not mistaken, it's written by Derek Bell and a woman, and I can't remember her name. I started to read it. I have not finished it.
Gene Stefancic and Richard Delgado.
Okay.
Not David Bell. Richard Delgado.
Okay. All right, got it. Yeah.
It's critical theory and introduction.
Critical race theory and introduction. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Richard Delgado is who I couldn't think of. And it's crazy because Richard Delgado is a law professor at the University of Alabama Law School. So who would have thought that?
Wow.
Absolutely.
Hitting close to home, hey?
Close.
Man.
Real close. Yeah. So, this is I highly recommend this book. It's really good.
Well, it will be picked up in the Smith household.
Yeah.
It will be picked up.
All right. So, man, we got you came up with some new merch recently.
I did come up with some new merch. We got some new merch, man. Let's take a look at that.
Dev is our fashion designer.
We got some new merch. You got to stay informed, people. Stay informed. So I added some new designs. For those who don't know, my background, the beginning of my career, actually most of my career has been as a designer. And so every now and again I get the crayons back out, and people like to say that designers just play with crayons. I get to get the crayons back out and I get to do stuff. And so I designed some new stuff. You will probably be seeing Kev and I wearing that stuff soon.
Absolutely.
On the show. But, we've been going with the Unburdened for a long time, but we need to put some new stuff in there. So stay informed is probably less likely to get you weird looks in the grocery store. And you might not be able to see it, but there's actually a little embroidered patch on the sleeve that has Informed Takes on it. So if anybody asks you, you show them your sleeve, you'd be like, hey, you need to watch the show. You need to watch the Informed Takes show. If they ask you about it. But we also got official Informed Takes stuff. So if you want to rep the show, you can have that emblazoned on your chest. We even got on some of these, we even have the Informed Takes logo on the tag inside the shirt.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Nice.
So a lot of these actually have the Informed Takes logo on the tag. But yeah, y'all feel free to pick that stuff up. Thank you, Future, for posting that.
No, don't thank Future. I'm mad at Future. I thought we was cool.
Oh no.
I thought we was cool.
Oh no.
She went there.
What'd she do? Oh,
snap. We're going to talk about the Alabama versus Duke game last night.
Oh, man.
Why you had to go there? Here I am, trying to
live your life.
Trying to live my life, deal with disappointment and hurt, because I did. I put on Facebook yesterday that I hate Duke. I've always hated Duke. And I will forever hate Duke. Like, it's just Duke. I hate Duke.
I mean, they got. And
it wasn't even about last night. It wasn't even just about last night. I've just always hated Duke. It's just from the Christian Laettner days. This is one of those schools and teams you just hate it.
Man. Future. Future, she dancing on you, man. She dancing.
I see.
Woo, man, I love it. See, does Future don't back down. She ain't never scared. Future ain't never scared.
Oh man, yep. She went there. I was like, man. It's bad. It's bad enough. I live in Auburn, right?
I know.
It's bad enough. I live, to the rival of the school I grew up rooting for. That I had to live in this.
Yeah.
And now I come on the show, and now Future is just kicking me.
Future kicking you while you're down. Oh, man. So I'm going to have to inform you of something else, man. You may not want to stay at my house after this. My wife, she grew up in North Carolina, and she's a Duke fan. She is a Duke fan. She got the Duke Cup. As a matter of fact, DWC's daughter got accepted. And Clarissa was so proud. She was so proud. She had to show her Duke Cup. She's like, I've had this since I was a kid. So contain the Black Hulk. Contain the Black Hulk when you come. But there's a Duke fan in the building, man. She's been a Duke fan for a long time.
All right, it's good to know. Future, I see you in football season, I guess.
Yeah, football season, can't nobody say nothing to you. Back in the day, Clemson could say something. I read Clemson. Back in the day, Clemson could say something, but Trevor Lawrence is long gone, and glory days are over.
Yep. But man, this has been a good show today, man. You got any final thoughts?
Man, my thing that I would like to leave people with is just, remember that the things that we say, a lot of things that we say, they come from somewhere. When you hear people spout things that they may agree with on the surface, something may sound catchy on the left or the right. Something may sound catchy. You need to understand what you're saying. You need to understand what you're saying. If you're on the left, there are certain things that are said that have a long history of things that you might not actually sign on to. You might not actually be okay with. And I've had to get better about not just assuming that the person is aware of what they're saying when they spout certain things. Because I am more of a political nerd than most, and have read books and all that, and I know where that idea came from, and I know that idea is bad, and I'm like, oh, this person is on the opposing team. I got to square up, and realize like people sometimes say things that they agree with on the surface level, even if they don't understand all of the history and meaning imbued in the term that they're saying. And you got to be able to deal with that person on the level that they're at. But if you are listening to this show, I just want to challenge you to be the kind of person who knows where which saying comes from and what's behind that. And whether you're on the right or the left, understand that stuff, because you want to be informed, but you want to have a solid political philosophy. It's important. I know that in our current, our ease of life that we have in the West, as Bane said in The Dark Knight Rises when he beats Batman up, he says, "Victory has defeated you." Don't let victory defeat you.
Get soft.
Don't be soft. When we think about the framers of the Constitution, the founding fathers, those guys were like in their 20s writing and saying, some of these things that we regard as the greatest political documents ever written. These guys were in their 20s. I mean, the average person in their 20s now, they don't even know where certain countries are. I mean, it's bad. It's bad. So know where your ideas come from. Don't just say something because it feels good, but know what you believe and have a solid political philosophy. When you hear Kev, say I'm a libertarian dude. He knows where some of my stuff comes from, but as you heard, I'm coming straight out of Romans 13, man. That's where I'm coming from. Y'all want to know where? If you ever want to break down my political philosophy, when I have a hard opinion on something, it's coming out of Romans 13. It's coming out of Peter. Paul and Peter dropped some revelation on what the purpose of human government is. I have a political philosophy. It's based in the Scripture. I highly encourage you to get that. You need to have it.
Hey, man, good word. Good word. My final thoughts is just, I'm a man of my word. I said I was going to talk about something negative with the Trump administration this week, and we did. So we call balls and strikes as we see them. We are not one side or the other, even though we have our political philosophies. Right is right and wrong is wrong, no matter who it comes from. And we don't carry the water for anybody. And so we call out things that need to be called out. But with that said, hey, y'all, we appreciate y'all. We thank y'all so much for tuning in, no matter it's YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. We appreciate you guys coming in. Like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Share it on social media. Tell a friend. Check out Podium Studios. Check out the merch store. And join us again next week as we tackle the latest in foreign and domestic politics. But until then, stay informed.
Stay informed, folks. This podcast was filmed at Podium Studios at Marietta Square. Grow your business with turnkey, professional quality podcasting, live streaming, and online events. Don't worry about editing. Don't worry about anything. Just come in and record. Learn more at thepodium.studio. Step up to the podium.